Hi guys, welcome to today's session. This is the third in this series. I'm going to be jumping straight into painting, so ideally you'll have watched the previous two. The first thing I'm going to do is take a little bit of my medium, which was just that same mixture of oil and mineral spirits from the previous session, and I'm just going to spread it over her face, because what I'm going to be working on today is pretty much just kind of like adding more detail into this sort of central focal point area of the painting. I'm trying to bring that kind of nearish to a completion. So what we're going to do is spend kind of a whole session, which will be like a normal sort of half-hour session, working on her face, as I say, and then follow that up. Next session, working kind of more down the rest of the body. But yeah, we're using the same palette, so I'm going to start mixing some paint up. I'm going to start with the lighter tones, so I'm going to mix a kind of another sort of orangey base colour using the two cadmiums, Cadmium Yellow and Red. A little bit of burnt umber mixed into that just to mute it a bit, and a bit of white. We'll kind of see how that looks. I'm going to start. That's not too bad. So a slightly lighter colour, which is what I was going for. I'm going to start up in this corner. And what we're doing is we're just kind of looking for modelling things a little bit more, adding a little bit more specific textures into the fur as well. So maybe went a little bit too bright up here. I want to make that a bit, knock that back down to be a bit more muted again. So I'm using quite small brushes, as you can see. I'm going to mix a slightly brighter yellow colour up for this sort of eyebrow. I want to make that a bit brighter, a bit lighter. So it really sort of glows that little eyebrow shape. Then as it drops back down, it goes more muted again. Then it kind of goes quite orangey as it goes further down. So something that's sort of missing from the previous session are these more kind of like deeper orangey tones, which I want to try to capture. Use a slightly different brush. I'm going to mix up something, a colour that's a bit more kind of angling towards orange using the cads. So it's going to be a bit more cadmium red than cadmium yellow in this mixture. This may be a little bit dark, but I'm just going to try it out. No, it's not too bad actually. Possibly a bit too high chroma, so I'm going to add a little bit more burnt umber, a little bit more white to that. The white just kind of greys it out a bit. So let's try that. Yeah, I'm a bit happy with that colour. And up here we've got that sort of same orangey colour as well. So we'll start to patch that in, blend it across. Then I'm just going to mix up a little bit, even more burnt umber and red, just to get it to start to kind of transition back into those darker tones at the back of the head. A bit better, that's looking alright. Swap back to my more kind of yellowy tone. So I'm going to put a little bit more of a creamy colour going down the front of that brow. And then swapping back to slightly more muted reddish colour for the snout. So you get the idea of these sort of, what we're doing, kind of just playing around with the colours a bit. But also developing the forms. The other thing I'm kind of thinking about is how the forms are developing as I go. So mostly you can see it's just a bit of an intensification of the colours. Pull this light tone across further across this brow as well. This little extra little crease just in front of the eye here as well. And there's going to be probably at least one more pass over to kind of fully detail out or fully develop these details. This is just our first go over it. So I'm going to have to start introducing more greys as we start creeping down the snout, so it kind of transitions from these warmer tones to greyer tones. It happens gradually, it's not just kind of like a sudden shift. It's probably a little bit too light, not too bad tone wise. Maybe do it being a little bit cooler. Shaping that nostril a bit more specifically. And that drops down a bit darker. So I've got most of those major tones in now, so I'm just kind of doing some in-between tones, mixing up using the ones I've got on my palette. Anywhere they need a bit of modification as well, I want to kind of just knock that bit back a little. But we've made good progress, I think. Kind of hint at the sort of speckling around her muzzle where the whiskers are, but I won't put the whiskers in specifically just yet. That'll be a later detail addition. Blend out some of these black tones into the brown using a darker grey and also some burnt umber. to inject a bit more chroma into this brow, looking back at that area. Also want to kind of mess around a little bit with these kind of halftone transitions around the forehead. Maybe just need to reintroduce some more lighter tones. To blend back in there. A bit lighter up this forehead as well, I think. Got the sort of brow ridge that is suggested. I'm not going to quite get into the ears, but I just wanted some of these connecting tones. So use some more of these halftone colours just to chisel back into some of these forms a little bit. I think that's just about at a good stopping point, kind of at the end of our session for today. I'm just going to put a few more kind of highlights running along this ridge of the forehead. A little bit on the eye there. I just want to blend them out slightly. I just want to make the bottom edge of this little crease a bit darker. Have a look at how it's actually almost a black, that eye, bottom of that eyelid. sort of runs across and connects a bit. The eyes are another thing that we'll come back to. I just wanted to kind of start to get them in place a little bit more than they were. I'll get stuck on this line now, but that sometimes happens. Just tweaking it a little bit. And push a little bit more kind of the greyish yellow up into it, so sort of just reshaping that slightly. That kind of weak grey yellow is actually quite good. It's about the right tone. Use a little bit of it down here as well, and across the forehead slightly. But yeah, I think that's probably not a bad stopping point for today. Lots more to do, obviously. Going to have a few more sessions on this one, but it's coming along nicely. A nice one to follow if you're using the same reference. It's a nice reference to paint from. And if you're using your own, I hope it's going well as well. But yeah, for now, I think we're gonna leave it at that. I might just add a little bit more dark just here where that brow is angling up. Slightly lighter tone. And that's slightly over the edge of the painting there, so I'm just going to whack in some background colour to reshape that back. And yeah, that's pretty good. I keep tweaking this one. I've got just a tiny bit more I wanted to do, just make this a bit darker here. Sort of A little bit more of a note for where the center of the head is, running along up the top here. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I'll do a little bit of a zoom out, try and not disconnect my camera, so you can see how it's looking. Looks pretty right, I reckon. We have some more like shape issues and so on to fix, but for the most part, sort of starting to reconcile a lot of bits and pieces. A bit more texture overlaid as well. We'll have in subsequent sessions, but yeah, it's not going too badly. So let that dry and work down on this rest of this body next session, and then kind of come back and tweak things around, tweak the background a bit. But yeah, it's going well. As always, you can subscribe to the channel on YouTube to keep up to date with all the all upcoming lessons, look through older lessons. There's 2 before this one. If you want to work from the same image, you can download the reference, got the materials list in the comments as well, and you can also, if you want to see what kind of paid or paid qualifications we have at the school, you can click the link through and see what we offer. But yeah, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys soon.